Hello and welcome to the Team Franco Bodybuilding Podcast. This is the fifth installment, and I just want to thank everyone for listening to the first four as I am getting more comfortable in front of a microphone and just hearing me talk. Today's episode is going to benefit a lot of people because the contest prep season is arriving and or those who are thinking about competing. If by any chance you hear my dog bark, it's most likely another Amazon delivery. So I may press pause and there might be a little blip, or if he's not barking too much, we'll carry on and push through. So today's podcast is going to be entitled, What Do You Do Before You Are 3 months out from competing? The issue is that there's so much information. Not an issue, but there's so much information on what to do when you're 3 months out, 12 weeks out, that magic number that floats around that still drives me crazy on how to get your body ready to compete. Although, and I've pressed upon this number of times, it's what you do before you start dieting, before you start that fat loss phase, that matters the most. As my clients know, and I like to say, you're always prepping. Even if you're 20 pounds over contest weight, you're always prepping in some fashion because what you're doing in the gym is what's ultimately going to change your physique, and then you uncover the body fat to look good on stage. So that's the information that you're going to get all the time, 12 weeks out. And the problem, unless you're working with a coach, and I would say for a coach more than 12 weeks out, is they're not going to have enough time to really dial you in, to do what's best for you. You're going to see stuff on the internet all the time talking about this diet. Yeah, you may lose weight, but did you really build a muscle to be shown on the stage? And that goes to the next intro point. About 2/3 at least of everyone that enters a show, or at least for the OCB in my shows, are first-time competitors. They're eager, no matter what their placement is, they're going to get feedback. They're eager upon learning what they can do. And I would say majority of the times is that the feedback is you have to build your body. You may need to get leaner. You need to develop this. And that doesn't come when you are prepping those last few months. Those improvements happen when you are not in a caloric deficit and you're weight training properly. So that is why I want to do this podcast, to discuss what to do when you're more than 3 months out before you decide to take that step and to compete. So let me start off saying training. That is the biggest factor of them all. If you're going in the gym, half-assing it, you're going to get half-assed results. I think you need to fall in love with the weights. If I go back to many years to when I first started working out, competitions weren't as avid. Yes, my older brother was the one who got me into it. He was competing as a teenager, but I loved to train. I loved to see my body change. Granted, I was a teenager, so things happened much quicker, and I was getting stronger much quicker. But it was that passion that I think a lot of people are missing because they just think it's great to compete. Let me build up a nice portfolio for my Instagram. I feel that if you have that passion and you're enjoying your training, you're enjoying pushing through that pain, you're enjoying seeing your body change, that's timeless. And if you're in that process now, live it, because that, again, is what's going to change the physique the most if you decide to compete. Try not to get caught up too much and cut your training in half or a time down just to step on stage. I lose a lot of clients, I admit it, because I have a questionnaire and they have their goals, in my questionnaire alone, it'll ask, when would you like to reach your goal? And one of them could be to compete, step on stage. How long have you been weight training? And more often than not, I'll see people who've not even weight trained for a year and their goal is to compete in 3 months. And I'll be honest with them. I'll be like, listen, we can do this, but we're not going to be optimizing our time together. You know, my skill set to help you. It's really, a matter of we can start working together. If you give me an additional 3 to 4 months minimum, let's see what happens. Let's see what the magic can be to build your body. And then we can, reevaluate and revisit the idea of competing, because you might be on such a high of gaining muscle and your body composition is changing, but you don't want to press it yet and diet down, because when you diet down as a natural bodybuilder, the goal is to maintain as much muscle as possible. That's a fact. And I don't care what anyone tells you. Even the top pros are losing muscle. So I will lose a client because sometimes, well, you know what? I really want to compete. And they'll find someone. Someone will take them on because they're money grabbers, these coaches, and they don't care. So they'll be like, all right, I'll take you on. I've had that happen. Although I've had those who will understand and be grateful because I'm looking out for them. So that's the first thing. Fall in love with your training. When I was a kid training out of my parents' basement, it was that, musty smell of the weights, as silly as that is. I mean, that was like the light switch that went on. It's go time. And even to this day, I enjoy training so much, where a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago in some months, I tore my bicep. And it was a partial tear. Well, there was one of the tendons. It wasn't a complete bicep tear because there's the 2 tendons. One did tear, had the MRI, all that. And the surgeon's like, well, I can fix it or you can let it go. I was at a crossroad. I'm like, well, if I get it fixed, it'll look better. And I was like, well, if I let it go, I can da-da-da-da. I ended up letting it go and letting it heal, and I took care of it myself because the downtime was about 3 months in an arm sling. So therefore, I couldn't train upper body at all. And then it was another 3 months minimum for full strength to come back after procedure. So a minimum of 6 months. And I was like, screw that. I'll go stir crazy if I couldn't train my body. So, of course, I listened to my body, didn't do any curls, didn't do any pulls. And then a year later, I was still feeling it a little bit, but I was just about 100%. And I'm, again, people may say, you're nuts, Joe, you're crazy, but it's that certain feeling that you get from when you weight train that cannot be replaced by anything else. So I like my clients to fall in love with their training, because that's what's going to change the physique the most. It's also going into a thing that I see lacking a lot of times, those who may want to compete, is the lack of effort. They'll train, they're not pushing themselves, and they'll still compete. And they'll wonder why, well, I did put all the time in, I did this, but why isn't my body changing? Well, it's effort, it's progress is made over many, many months of hard training. Again, not the last few months, because again, you'll have people that will half-ass it, not put too much effort into it, and then, all right, I picked a show, it's 3 months out, now I'm going to train hard. Well, that's backwards. If you're going to train hard those last few months, I mean, you're going to be increasing the possibility of injury. And you're not going to be growing because your calories are going to be at a deficit. So put that effort in. Don't be afraid to get, not say get injured, but don't be afraid to have some pain, aches in your muscles, in a good way. So again, it's just about what you want to do with your training, and realizing that that also takes time. Another major point is the diet. People know me, they know I hate the term bulking, because that's just bullshit. That's a lazy way of just to get fat. So what you want to do, if you decide to compete and you're going to give it more than 3 months, say from a year from now is the time to build your metabolism up, to learn what your caloric ceiling is. And I'll explain that in a minute. Because if you're consuming more calories and your body weight is relatively the same, give or take a few pounds up, because hopefully you're gaining some muscle, it's much easier to burn fat, or better yet, lose fat if you're starting out at a higher caloric intake. I've had those who reach out to me. They're 3 months out. They're taking in minimum calories. Say, a bikini competitor who weighs 120 pounds, 5 foot tall. She may need to lose 5 to 8 pounds, but is consuming 1,000 calories and doing, multiple days of cardio. Where are you going to go from there? That's how, metabolic breakdown, problems happen. Adaptation where your body gets used to it. So what, you're going to go down even lower and then screw up your hormones? That's another podcast for another day. So when I have time with a client that has a goal of competing a year out, or if you're not going to work with a coach, you have that goal of competing of a year or two out, build up your calories. But not to get fat on purpose. That's a significant difference. Because those who get fat on purpose and tend to bulk, well, you know what? That's hard on the body. That's just not healthy. And it puts more work when you do need to diet down. I said, one of my other podcasts, if you just competed and you want a good range to stay in, I would say anywhere between 5 and 12% of your previous body weight. It does vary. I get it. But you don't want to get too far off. And the same idea, if you never competed before, you don't want to gain unnecessary body fat, like the whole bro way of, I got to bulk up. I got to cheat meal this. That's bullshit, man. It's just going to make it harder on you when you do want to compete, and you're going to have to give yourself even more time, and you may even sacrifice more muscle. So going back to the caloric ceiling, what I like to do, and I give you prime examples because it's happened. I've had real live examples of that 120-pound bikini competitor that we decide, all right, you know what? You're taking in 1,000 calories now. Let's add in a few calories each week, see how your body responds and how you perform in the gym. And if we can say build that up to 1,500 calories and she gains 3, 4, maybe 5 pounds, that's a win. Because now she's starting off at a higher point. We're able to take her cardio down to multiple times a week, to maybe a couple of times a week, or maybe 5 or 10 minutes after each workout. And then it becomes easier because she's recovering quicker, she's getting more muscle, she's at a higher caloric ceiling. Yes, it's painstaking, it can be, but it's a better outcome by giving yourself the time rather than thinking, all right, 12 weeks, magic's going to happen, let's do it. The last point is mindset. Especially today's social media, the world of instant gratification, or let me show off what I did. And therefore bodybuilding shows have become more popular. If they have, and this is the hard truth. Sometimes I think people do compete so they can get more likes on social media. It should be about you versus you. That's what it comes down to. Your self gratification and not caring what anyone else thinks. You're proof that you can push yourself to the limit and not have to post a picture up. So people get excited. I want to compete 12 weeks out. Look at this post. And then shit hits the fan. You're not be posting about your gains and your progress and your cuts and everything. So what I am pressing here, if you want to compete, do your research, think about it. The goal to compete is 1, to look your all-time best. That's pretty obvious. And 2, that you belong on stage, that you are competitive. Now, granted, this is another podcast about judging and all that, but you want to look like you belong on stage, no matter where you place. Hopefully this has been helpful. And it's just a quick review. Training, I want you to love it. Appreciate those gains. Set those strength goals. Build your body up before you break it down, because you're not going to break it down. You're not going to be building it up during those last few months. Have the effort for the training. Push yourself. Build up your metabolism so you take in more calories so it's easier to diet off of. And have the mindset. The mindset is for you, not for you to show off. Oh, there's another Amazon delivery. And the finer details. And I'll finish off with this. Check out a couple of shows. See what the shows are all about. If you're interested in doing a show, watch it, and then you can compete in it the next year. Or the same organization, or other organizations. It doesn't matter, but you want to get the feel of what a show's all about, what kind of physiques that you're seeing. That is important. Research the organization. I'll say that again. And even when you are greater than 3 months out, posing, again, learn how to pose, practice. You look for a class, look for someone to help you. Don't wait until you are 3 weeks out from a contest to learn how to pose. I see more lousy posing than ever, and it's because it's put on the back burner. You want to practice posing and build the confidence up more than 3 months out and not wait. And lastly, hire a coach. But, again, I think that I'm going to do a whole podcast on that one. But hire someone that's on the same page as you and respects what your physique is currently, and give you an estimated good timeline, and let your body decide when you want to compete instead of having that goal. Because as I mentioned in one of the first podcasts, it's all about building good habits. You build the good habits, then the goal will come. Well, guys, I think I exceeded well more than 15 minutes. This is the longest one, but I'm hoping that this information has been helpful. I'm not trying to talk anyone out of competing. I just want you guys to optimize your time with proper guidance, with proper focus, so you'll have a better result. So when you do get that feedback from a judge, they may say, well, maybe your tan needs to be worked on, or maybe you're posing a little bit. Not your physique. You know what? You really need to build a whole lot of more muscle. Okay? So again, this is Joe Franco. If you have any questions, please email me at fitfranco@verizon.net. Please visit my website, teamfrancobodybuilding.com. I do have shows myself throughout the year and posing classes. And if you're interested in anything or you want to start a conversation, hit me up, guys. Take care and have a great day.